The Helios, a sleek amalgam scout vessel, drifted silently at the edge of the Sol system. Commander Trenvos adjusted his sensory implants, his 4 eyes widening at the data flowing through his neural interface. "Confirm these readings," he ordered his science officer. "Confirmed, Commander. Third planet shows significant electromagnetic activity consistent with pre-hyperspace civilization. The discovery would earn Trenvos a commendation." The Amalgam, a coalition of 12 advanced species spanning 3 spiral arms of the galaxy, was always hungry for new worlds to incorporate into their empire. Admiral Jean Vex stood before the High Council, his decorated uniform bearing insignia from 200 conquered worlds. The massive chamber's holographic projectors displayed Earth from multiple angles, its blue oceans, scattered continents, and the sprawling lights of human cities visible on the night side. "A perfect Class 4 acquisition target," Jean Vex announced. "Technologically primitive, yet developed enough to provide useful labor after subjugation." High Counselor Drex, his crystalline exoskeleton glittering under the chamber's lights, gestured dismissively with a multi-jointed limb. "Another backwater inhabited by primitives barely more evolved than their primate ancestors. Proceed with standard protocols." Dr. Xala, a xenobiologist with mismatched eyes, one natural, one cybernetic, stepped forward, violating Council protocol. "Honorable Council, I request permission to present contradictory findings." Murmurs of surprise rippled through the chamber. "Proceed," Drex said coldly. Dr. Xala activated her own data sphere. "My analysis of human neural patterns shows something unprecedented. Their brains connect logical centers directly with imagination nodes, a combination we've never encountered. They think sideways." The council chamber erupted in laughter. "You suggest these primitives pose a threat?" Drex mocked. "Their most advanced weapons can barely reach their own moon." "I suggest our standard conquest algorithms may fail," Xala persisted. "Their creativity doesn't follow predictable patterns." Commander Voskor, ambitious and eager for advancement, saw his opportunity. He stepped forward and bowed deeply. "High Council, allow me to resolve this debate practically. I will lead the invasion fleet personally and deliver Earth to the Amalgam within 72 hours." 17-year-old Ellie Chen adjusted her homemade telescope on her family's Montana ranch. The star-watching party she'd organized with her astronomy club had been going perfectly until she noticed strange light patterns behind the moon. "That's not right," she whispered, capturing images and recalibrating. The formations were unmistakable. Massive objects in precise formation, definitely not natural. With trembling hands, she emailed the images to her astronomy professor, then to NASA, then to every scientific observatory whose address she could find online. "Please look at these immediately," she wrote. "Something is hiding behind the moon." Within hours, her images reached military intelligence. Within 12, world leaders convened an emergency session. Within 24, humanity began its desperate preparations. The 48-hour warning would save billions of lives. Behind the moon, Commander Voskor prepared his 300 ships for what he expected to be the easiest conquest of his career. He had no idea he was about to make first contact with the most dangerous species the Amalgam had ever encountered. Dawn broke over Earth's continents as the Amalgam launched their standard 3-pronged invasion. Communications networks worldwide went silent. Military bases vanished in blinding flashes of energy. Stealth units infiltrated government buildings across the globe. Commander Voskor reclined in his command chair, watching satisfaction as holographic displays showed the operation's progress. He was already dictating terms of Earth's surrender speech. "Begin broadcasting submission protocols on all frequencies," he ordered. "I want their leaders kneeling before the council within 6 hours." His communications officer's expression shifted from confidence to confusion. "Commander, we're receiving unusual reports from ground forces." 3 hours into what should have been a textbook conquest, Voskor's triumphant smile vanished. Reports flooded in. Human military forces had abandoned their bases before strikes. civilian radio operators were using pre-digital equipment unaffected by amalgam jammers, and world leaders had evacuated to bunkers minutes before attacks. Impossible, he snarled. How could they have known? In Seoul, South Korea, 16-year-old Min Jun-lee slammed his fist on his desk as alien signals interrupted his championship gaming match. The strange interference patterns scrolled across his screen, and Min Jun, who had synesthesia that let him see code as colors, recognized something fascinating. They're using perfect mathematical patterns, he muttered to his online teammates. Too perfect. No randomness at all. Out of spite and curiosity, Min Jun created an algorithm that injected true randomness into the alien encryption, and watched in shock as their entire communication system became visible to him. His hack spread worldwide through gaming networks, giving humans access to enemy communications. They can't process actual chaos, he messaged the rapidly growing network of resistance hackers. Their systems break when faced with true randomness. In Lagos, Nigeria, Dr. Edwell and his engineering team discovered that amalgam weapons functioned on crystalline resonance. Within hours, they modified diamond-tipped mining drills to emit counter-frequencies that disabled alien shield generators. The blueprints spread globally through Min Jun's network, becoming the first effective defense against amalgam technology. Commander Voskor watched in disbelief as casualty reports climbed from an expected 0.02% to a staggering 15% in a single day. He smashed his holographic display in rage. Target civilian population centers, he ordered, violating amalgam conquest protocols. Maximum casualties. Break their will. His second-in-command subtly recorded this breach of conduct, her loyalty to amalgam law outweighing her loyalty to her commander. The tide turned dramatically during the Battle of Johannesburg. Captain Nandi Mbeki commanded a ragtag force of police officers and park rangers, armed with modified mining equipment and makeshift weapons, when an amalgam destroyer positioned itself over the city center. Mbeki had stadium mirrors repositioned to reflect the ship's energy beam back at its source. The massive vessel crashed into the harbor in a spectacular explosion. Civilians swarmed the wreckage, stripping it for technology under Mbeki's direction. Across surviving human networks, footage of the downed amalgam flagship went viral. The hashtag #EarthFightsBack trended worldwide as resistance cells formed on every continent. Voskor's once certain victory now seemed increasingly doubtful, and for the first time in his military career, he felt something alien to amalgam psychology. Fear. 3 months into the invasion, Commander Voskor stood before the holographic council, sweat beading on his ridge-scaled forehead. The conquest projection showing 86% control by this date mocked him as actual territorial control, registered at a mere 23%. This is unprecedented. High Counselor Drex's voice trembled with barely controlled rage. The worst performance in amalgam military history. The humans employ tactics that defy our predictive models, Voskor explained desperately. They abandon strategic positions to set traps. They sacrifice valuable technology to gain tactical advantages. Excuses, Drex hissed. In the ruins of Cambridge University, Professor Helen Cheng led a diverse team of scientists who hadn't slept in days. They'd reverse-engineered amalgam power cells by connecting them to Earth electronics through an interface made of graphene and seawater. It shouldn't work, she laughed hysterically as the alien power source illuminated human devices. But it does. Similar breakthroughs occurred worldwide. Human innovation accelerated under existential threat, compressing decades of potential development into months of desperate creativity. In remote villages, children fashioned simple EMP devices from salvaged microwave parts and bicycle generators, disabling amalgam scout drones. An amalgam general watched in disbelief as his million-credit surveillance network was defeated by what he described as primitive toys. The emergency council session on the amalgam throne world grew heated as faction leaders demanded explanations. Is this Voskor's incompetence or something else? Demanded High Counselor Drex, whose personal investment in Earth mining rights was now threatened. Dr. Xala presented her updated findings with passionate intensity, displaying holographic models of human neural responses. "They don't just adapt, they transform under pressure," she explained. "Where we seek optimization along expected paths, humans leap sideways to solutions we'd never consider. They embrace chaos as a creative force." The council chambers fell silent as the implications sank in. After heated debate, the council made a fateful decision. Earth is no longer considered suitable for standard colonization. Grand Admiral Krellmore, a legendary warrior with a face scarred from 1,000 battles, was dispatched with the Devastator fleet carrying planet-cracking weapons. "We will harvest this world's resources from the debris field of its destruction," Drex declared ominously. In an underground bunker beneath the Alps, Min Jun intercepted and decrypted this transmission. On a wall of salvaged screens, representatives from 194 nations watched in horror as schematics for Earth's destruction were displayed. Ancient enemies, Indian and Pakistani generals, Israeli and Palestinian leaders, North and South Korean officials, exchanged long looks before standing united. "We need a miracle," whispered the Secretary General. That miracle began taking shape as Project Prometheus, a digital virus designed by programmers, linguists, mathematicians, and even poets to exploit the rigid logic of amalgam systems. "The virus must understand how humans think to make the alien systems think like us," explained Dr. Elena Vasquez, the team leader. "We're not just writing code. We're translating humanity itself into digital form." As they worked, the Devastator fleet approached, its weapons capable of reducing Earth to asteroid-sized fragments. Humanity had one chance left. Dawn broke over the Atacama Desert as humanity's last hope. A salvaged and modified amalgam scout ship, prepared for launch. The mission: deliver the Prometheus virus directly to the Amalgam Command Network. Colonel Sarah Chen, former U.S. Air Force pilot whose family died in the Shanghai massacre, gripped the alien controls with bandaged hands. Her palms still bore burns from the emergency landing that had captured this vessel 3 weeks ago. "We're flying into hell itself," she told the strike team. "But we're bringing the devil with us." The team embodied humanity's newfound unity. Russian Special Forces operative Dmitry Baranov, whose hatred of Commander Voskor had been fueled by Moscow's destruction. Kenyan tech specialist Dr. Amara Okafor, who wrote critical portions of the virus code. Brazilian guerrilla commander João Santos, who hadn't slept in a real bed since Sao Paulo fell, and Indian Navy SEAL Captain Arjun Sharma, who'd lost his entire unit saving civilians in Mumbai. For Earth, they murmured together, a ritual they'd developed during the brutal training regime. Dr. Xala, her inner conflict now resolved in favor of scientific truth over amalgam propaganda, transmitted encrypted schematics of the Devastator fleet's vulnerability points. She used a method inspired by Earth's quantum entanglement experiments, a technique the amalgam had dismissed as theoretically impossible. Her message: approaching from Vector 7 will blind their primary sensors for 3.8 minutes. On the amalgam flagship, Commander Voskor studied behavioral patterns in Dr. Xala's communications. "She's helping them," he whispered in horrified realization. He ordered her immediate arrest for high treason, but his paranoia came too late. Xala had already escaped to a forgotten research outpost in the lunar Sea of Tranquility. The mission unfolded with heart-stopping precision. The cloaked ship approached through the sensor blind spot. Proximity alarms finally blared. The team fought through crushing internal defenses. Dr. Okafor connected the virus uplink as Joao and Dmitry held off waves of security drones. Captain Sharma was fatally wounded protecting the upload terminal. "Almost there," Amara called, blood trickling from her ear where an alien sonic weapon had ruptured her eardrum. 98% transfer. The amalgam AI triggered the ship's self-destruct sequence. Colonel Chen made the impossible decision, locking her team in the upload chamber while she piloted the dying ship deeper into the amalgam fleet. "Complete the mission," she ordered over the intercom. Earth needs you alive." "Sarah." "No," Dmitri shouted, pounding on the sealed door. Her final transmission simply stated, "For Earth. For humanity. Remember us." The Prometheus virus exceeded all expectations, spreading through the amalgam network like wildfire. It didn't just shut down systems, it rewrote them with unpredictable, creative, human-like logic. Amalgam ships fired upon each other. Life support systems were routed to non-essential areas. Weapons turned against their own fleet in a spectacular display of technological chaos visible from Earth's surface. Grand Admiral Krellmore's Devastator fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system to an unprecedented sight. The Advance Invasion Force drifting in disarray, their ships now pulsing with unfamiliar energy signatures. On Earth, military command centers watched in awe as the ship transponders switched to Earth languages, displaying a simple message: "We are yours now." 6 weeks after Project Prometheus, Earth launched Operation Boomerang. A flotilla of 89 converted amalgam vessels, their hulls now adorned with flags of human nations, emerged from hyperspace at the Proxima Centauri staging area. Captain Miguel Reyes, formerly a commercial fishing boat captain from Chile, stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship Vengeance. His weathered hands, once calloused from hauling nets, now manipulated alien control interfaces with practiced ease. "They came to our home uninvited," he broadcast to all ships. "Let's return the favor." The counterattack stunned amalgam defenders whose combat algorithms couldn't account for how humans had integrated Earth technologies with alien systems. In the asteroid belt of Epsilon Eridani, mining ships retrofitted with obsolete nuclear warheads inside amalgam shield bubbles performed suicide jumps directly into enemy defense platforms. The impossible hybrid technology confounded amalgam sensors until detonation. On the amalgam throne world, the Great Council chamber descended into chaos. The aquatic Mernthi ambassador splashed aggressively in his hydrotank. "We warned against this invasion. The humans should be approached for peace." Across the chamber, Supreme Krilthar generals, Zex Kaltar rose to his full 3-meter height, membranous wings flaring. "We will burn every human world and colony to ash. No species defies the amalgam and lives." Dr. Xala, her laboratory coat exchanged for makeshift human clothing, nervously entered a resistance bunker beneath the ruins of New Delhi. Guards aimed salvaged amalgam weapons until General Indira Lakshmi recognized her from intelligence reports. "I can give you the frequencies to disable planetary shields on 6 amalgam core worlds," Tala said, pushing forward a crystal data core, "and the location of their central cloning facilities." When asked why she was helping humanity, she stared at children playing with makeshift toys in the corner of the bunker. "Because in 3,000 years of amalgam expansion, I've never seen any species create rather than simply consume." Commander Voskor stood before the Tribunal of Elders, his once impressive uniform stripped of insignia. "You fail to recognize the human threat," intoned High Elder Vortal. "You are relieved of all duties." As Voskor was dragged away, Grand Marshal Dex Uran, a cybernetically enhanced veteran known for eradicating the rebellious Threxian species, stepped forward. His metallic eyes gleamed with cold calculation. "I will not make the same mistakes," he vowed. "Every human outpost will be reduced to molecules. Every captured human will be publicly executed. We will make Earth an example that echoes across 1,000 generations." On Mars' Olympus Mons, Colonel Fatima Al-Zahra planted the United Earth flag as terraforming equipment confiscated from amalgam depots began transforming the thin atmosphere. From this day forward, she announced to the cheering engineering corps, humanity claims its second home. The massive mountain, once housing the amalgam's forward command post, became Fortress Olympus, humanity's first permanent off-world military installation. Engineer crews worked day and night adapting the facility while scientific teams studied Martian geology using amalgam sensors never designed for such peaceful purposes. Earth was no longer just defending, it was expanding, adapting, and preparing for the next phase of a war that had become a struggle for galactic freedom. In the slave mines of Talax Prime, exhausted Centaurian workers paused as their overseers' communication devices malfunctioned, suddenly broadcasting footage of amalgam warships being destroyed by converted human vessels. A one-eyed Centaurian elder whispered to the others, "If the soft-skinned Earthlings can fight back, so can we." By nightfall, the first mining colony uprising began, with tools becoming weapons and despair transforming into furious hope. News spread through whispered rumors and stolen transmissions. Humans, a species no one had heard of a year ago, were successfully resisting the amalgam. On a dozen subjugated worlds, resistance movements awakened. In a hybrid laboratory beneath CE Arnon, Dr. Xala worked alongside Dr. Eliza Montgomery and a team of quantum physicists. Using principles derived from both human theoretical physics and amalgam practical engineering, they created the Quantum Entanglement Network, or QEN. Xala connected the final crystal matrix, her hands trembling. "If this works," she said, "we can communicate instantly across any distance." The test signal reached a resistance cell on Proxima Centauri in 0.1 seconds, effectively instantaneous. Dr. Montgomery wept openly. The amalgam kept worlds isolated to prevent unified resistance. That advantage just vanished. Aboard the Terran ship Prometheus II, Min Jun, now 17, and a commissioned communications officer, completed his greatest hack yet. He broke into the amalgam's central propaganda network and replaced the standard Imperial broadcasts with raw footage. Humans and aliens fighting side by side. Amalgam ships surrendering. And most powerfully, multi-species children playing together in the new Mars colonies. The transmission reached 2,412 worlds simultaneously. On the occupied planet Vega IV, an amalgam governor watched in horror as his entire security force laid down their weapons after viewing the broadcast. "Freedom is contagious," Min Jun told his stunned superiors. "These species have been waiting for someone to show them it's possible." Grand Marshal Dex Saran, his cybernetic implants now covering 78% of his body, entered a forbidden vault deep within the Krillfar homeworld. "Authorization Omega," he rasped to the ancient AI Guardian. "Release the Harbingers." Across human-controlled sectors, thousands of sleeper pods activated, unleashing biomechanical hunter-killers programmed to target human genetic signatures. These autonomous weapons, banned by even the amalgam's loose ethical protocols, began slaughtering civilian populations with methodical precision. In an unprecedented emergency session, the Sovereignty ambassador, representing a founding species of the amalgam, dramatically removed her ancestral life support collar, risking death to emphasize her point. "The Krillfar have betrayed everything the amalgam once stood for. We formally withdraw from this corrupted union." The Trell representatives followed, their hive minds speaking in perfect unison. "The use of harbingers violates the ancient compact. The amalgam has fallen." The council chamber erupted as more species chose sides, centuries-old alliances dissolving in hours. The war for Earth had become a war for the soul of the galaxy itself. 2 years of relentless conflict had transformed both sides. War maps in the Terran Alliance headquarters showed a galaxy divided. 40% still under amalgam control, 35% liberated by the Alliance, 25% contested or neutral. General Marcus Williams, his face weathered beyond his 42 years, addressed the Strategic Council. "We've achieved the impossible by surviving, but we lack resources for a final offensive." Across the table, Admiral Kia Okonkwo countered, "And they can no longer overwhelm us with superior numbers." Classic stalemate. The room fell silent until Dr. Xala spoke. "There is another way." Dr. Xala, now wearing a custom environment suit adorned with both amalgam scientific insignia and human artistic patterns, stood before a unique team at the Louvre's underground bunker in Paris. "Physical victory is impossible for either side," she explained, "but the amalgam has a critical vulnerability we haven't exploited: their cultural conditioning. She activated a hologram showing billions of amalgam citizens living in rigid conformity. They're taught that creativity leads to chaos, that individuality threatens survival. What if we show them otherwise? Thus, Operation Mindshare was born, a plan to broadcast human cultural concepts directly into amalgam civilian populations. On the Krilthar throne world, Grand Marshal Dex Suran, now more machine than biological, kneeled before the sacred Genesis chamber where the species' genetic legacy was preserved. "I request access to the Omega Protocol," he rasped to the ancient Guardians. The Guardians' crystalline eyes showed alarm. The quantum collapse weapon has not been used in 12 millennia. It requires 3 months to charge and will destabilize an entire solar system. "Earth has left us no choice," Dexaran replied. "Begin the sequence." Min Jun, now 19 and heading Earth's digital warfare division, led a coalition of human hackers, artists, and psychologists in creating a mimetic package designed to appeal to the suppressed individualism of amalgam citizens. "We're not building propaganda," he explained to military observers. "We're crafting an invitation to imagine, to question, to dream." The package contained Earth music, art, literature, scientific innovation, and philosophy, all translated into amalgam mural formats. Most importantly, it included thousands of personal stories from everyday humans overcoming challenges through creativity and cooperation. "The amalgam builds uniformity through fear," Min Jun said. "We'll offer diversity through hope." The transmission succeeded beyond all expectations. Using the TDN network, Earth broadcast Operation Mindshare simultaneously to every amalgam world. Within hours, reports of civil unrest flooded in. Amalgam citizens removed conformity implants, abandoned assigned roles, and demanded answers from their leaders. On thousands of worlds, the once orderly amalgam society fractured as populations experienced concepts of freedom, creativity, and self-determination for the first time. With their empire in chaos, the Krilthar leadership made their final move. The partially charged quantum collapse weapon launched toward Earth, capable of destroying not just the planet but the entire solar system. As alarms blared across Earth, a desperate plan formed. A joint human-alien team would attempt to intercept and divert the unstoppable weapon into deep space. The quantum collapse weapon streaked toward Earth, a pinpoint of absolute darkness against the stars. Leading the intercept mission was Commander Amara Okafor, once a programmer, now a legend after surviving the original Prometheus mission. Alongside her flew an unlikely crew. Min Jun piloting the navigation systems, Dr. Xala calculating the intercept trajectory, and representatives from 7 formerly amalgam species, each bringing unique expertise to the desperate mission. "We cannot destroy it," Dr. Xala explained as they approached. "We can only redirect it." Using principles discovered during Earth's terraforming of Mars, they deployed gravitational resonators around the weapon. The plan was insanely precise: to create a tunnel of warped space-time leading away from the solar system. The resonators activated in perfect sequence, each burning out as it performed its single critical function. The quantum collapse weapon veered onto its new course, accelerating toward empty intergalactic space. It worked. Min Jun shouted, before their sensors detected a critical anomaly. One resonator had failed. The weapon's trajectory was correcting back toward Earth. Without hesitation, Dr. Xala seized manual control of their ship. "Get to the escape pods," she ordered. "Xala." "No," Amara protested. "I was there when this war began," the alien scientist said calmly. "It's fitting I should be there when it ends." She piloted the vessel directly into the weapon's path, creating the final gravitational distortion needed to push it clear. The quantum collapse detonated in deep space, far from any inhabited system, a brief, silent nova visible across the galaxy. 3 months later, the Amalgam Empire officially dissolved following revolutions in its core systems. The Krilthar leadership, including Grand Marshal Dex Suran, faced trial before a multi-species tribunal. Earth emerged as the center of a new interstellar coalition based on principles of self-determination and mutual defense. Humans were recognized as a catalyst species with unique cognitive abilities that sparked innovation throughout the galaxy. In New Geneva, representatives from 98 formerly subjugated worlds gathered to establish the Galactic Concordat, a new framework for peaceful cooperation between diverse species. "We did not seek this war," President Elena Vasquez told the Assembly, "but we embrace the peace it has made possible." Former amalgam technologies, now improved by human ingenuity, accelerated development across dozens of worlds. Human culture, art, and ideas thread throughout the galaxy, creating a renaissance of creative expression on formerly regimented planets. Commander Voskhor, now a prisoner of war, wrote a famous treatise titled The Human Variable that became required reading in military academies throughout the galaxy. "Their greatest weapon was never technological," he wrote. "It was their unpredictability, their astonishing ability to defy logic and yet succeed." 5 years after the war's end, Earth launched its first intergalactic exploration vessel, the Dr. Ixala, named for the scientist whose sacrifice had saved billions. As the ship departed, carrying representatives from 32 species, humanity began a new chapter, leading the galaxy not through conquest, but through innovation, adaptability, and the formerly underestimated power of human creativity. The end.